Have you ever been curious about where some of history's most notorious criminals sought refuge from justice? From Melissa Caddick's opulent penthouse to Elizabeth Holmes's $100 million estate, these infamous residences provided sanctuary to renowned fugitives as they evaded law enforcement. Join us as we delve into the secretive hideouts of some of the world's most infamous criminals.
Hey guys, this is basically the story of Larry Price and the abandoned mansion he left behind. The full history, the facts, details, everything about this, why the house is abandoned, where they're at today, and any of the progression, plus video clips and pictures of the whole entire house. Probably one of the coolest houses I've ever made a video on, so let's go ahead and jump into the footage.
The developer of the largest mansion in Billings, who's accused of faking his own kidnapping in Virginia to flee his massive debts, today pleaded not guilty in federal court in Billings to charges of wire fraud.
38-year-old Larry Price Jr. faces 6 counts of wire fraud for soliciting $13.5 million from investors in a Wyoming company and then allegedly spent the money for his own use. The court indictment alleges Price transferred money from banks in West Virginia, Texas, and Wyoming to his accounts in Montana.
This past May, Price was charged in Virginia federal court for lying to federal investigators after he claimed he was kidnapped by a biker gang, then robbed at his bike shop there.
If convicted, Price could face up to 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. He is not being held in jail.
This is the Larry Price Mansion. Larry Price is the man behind the largest house ever built in Billings, a 10-bedroom, 15-bathroom castle with 3 pools and an elevator on Billings' far west end. The Three Blind Mice LLC are the creditors which claim the title to the $10.5 million home in May. A former Billings mansion owner with deep ties to the coal industry has pleaded guilty to federal charges of wire fraud, money laundering, and lying to federal investigators. Larry Wayne Price Jr., 38, admitted to the charges Tuesday morning in the U.S. District Court in Billings as a part of a plea agreement filed by prosecutors earlier in the day. He pleaded guilty to 3 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering, and 1 count of making false statements to federal investigators. Price is a former vice president of surface mining activities at Signal Peak Energy, a company that operates a coal mine near Roundup and has been associated with other businesses in Montana and Virginia. He is also known locally as the man behind a more than $10 million, 26,000 square foot mansion that is the largest residential building ever constructed in Billings. For each of the 3 counts of wire fraud, Price faces up to 20 years in prison. The conspiracy charge also has a maximum sentence of 20 years, and lying to federal investigators carries a penalty up to 5 years in prison. Not to mention, Price must also pay back more than $20 million in restitution for financial activity that defrauded 3 companies over an 18-month span that ended this April. Included in the terms of Price's restitution is a lengthy agreement that spans 5 properties in Montana, including his West End mansion, a property in Virginia, an unspecified amount of jewelry purchased after his financial fraud began, a motorhome, 6 boats, and 4 trailers. This ginormous, absolutely gorgeous house will now sit behind and collect nothing but dust.
Up next, we visit Elizabeth Holmes mansions. Elizabeth Holmes, once celebrated as America's youngest self-made female millionaire at age 30 in 2014, is now serving a 9-year and 7-month sentence in a federal women's prison camp in Texas for fraud. Holmes amassed a fortune through her startup Theranos, which claimed to have created groundbreaking technology capable of performing hundreds of health tests with just a single drop of blood. By the time it was exposed that the technology was ineffective, Holmes and her co-founder, Sunny Balwani, had defrauded investors out of over $712 million. Charged in 2022, Holmes saw her original 11-year sentence reduced by 2 years in July 2023. In her prime, Holmes' net worth soared to an astonishing $4.75 billion in 2014. That same year, she and Balwani, who was then the president and chief operations officer of Theranos, as well as her boyfriend, purchased an opulent 5-bedroom mansion in Atherton, Silicon Valley for $8.9 million. Spanning 9,400 square feet, the luxurious home sits on just over an acre in one of the area's most affluent neighborhoods. Built in 1934, the gated estate boasts elegant living spaces, including a wine cellar and a wet bar, while the meticulously landscaped grounds feature a swimming pool, a detached guest house, and an air-conditioned loggia. After Holmes and Balwani parted ways in 2018, Balwani bought out Holmes' share of the property for $8.1 million, making him the sole owner. Amid the legal chaos that followed, Balwani put the mansion on the market in 2021, and it eventually sold in 2022 for $16 million, a sum likely needed to cover his legal expenses. During her 2021 criminal trial, Holmes and her partner William Evans were reported by CNBC to be staying at Green Gables, one of America's most expensive private estates. While the main house was listed for a staggering $150 million, the couple rented one of the 6 more modest homes on the sprawling 78-acre property. The secluded estate provided a refuge from the intense media scrutiny surrounding her trial, though her choice of such a lavish residence drew significant public criticism, especially considering the $690 million Theranos had raised from wealthy investors. Holmes and Balwani were ordered to repay $460 million to the victims of their fraud, which included high-profile figures like media mogul Rupert Murdoch. However, given the magnitude of their debts and the extent of their financial ruin, it appears unlikely that the defrauded investors will ever see their money returned. Holmes' dramatic rise and fall from a billionaire entrepreneur to a convicted felon continues to captivate the public, serving as a stark reminder of the perils of unchecked ambition and deceit in the business world. Up next, we visit the case of Melissa Caddick, often dubbed Australia's Bernie Madoff, proves that truth can indeed be stranger than fiction. Caddick swindled a little over $15 million from her clients, friends, and family to fund a lavish lifestyle, which included art, jewelry, clothing, a luxurious Sydney mansion, and a high-end penthouse now set for auction in October. Before facing justice, however, she vanished, leading to a gruesome discovery months later. Outwardly, Melissa Caddick appeared to live a typical life. The 49-year-old resided with her husband, Anthony Coletti, in Sydney's Dover Heights and worked as a financial advisor. Beneath this facade, she was running an elaborate Ponzi scheme comparable to the infamous American conman Bernie Madoff. Her scheme collapsed in November 2020 when the Australian Federal Police and the Australian Securities and Investments Commission raided her home. It was later revealed that Caddick had defrauded 72 investors through her bogus financial services company, reportedly using an associate's financial services license to carry out her scam. Her husband has denied any involvement in her crimes. Hours after the 2020 raid, Caddick disappeared. 3 months later, her decomposing foot, still inside a running shoe, was found washed up on a beach on the south coast of New South Wales. An inquest in May 2023 concluded that Caddick was deceased, though the circumstances of her death remain unclear. Speculations that she amputated her own foot to evade capture were dismissed, especially given her lack of contact with her son. As the full extent of her fraud became known, auctions of Caddick's possessions were held to recover funds for her victims. One of her significant assets, a plush penthouse, is set for auction on the 10th of October by Richardson and Wrench Double Bay. The Edgecliff, New South Wales apartment, with its sweeping views of Sydney Harbour, is expected to fetch between $2.5 and $3.4 million. Caddick purchased the 3-bedroom property for just over $2.1 million in 2015 for her parents, Barbara and Ted Grimley, who later claimed they had contributed over $550,000 towards its purchase in exchange for a third ownership. This dispute was settled in federal court in June 2023, with the Grimleys accepting a $500,000 payout and relinquishing their ownership claim. They have not been accused of any wrongdoing. Another property, the Dover Heights home from which Caddick disappeared, sold in October 2022 for $6 million. Of the sale proceeds, $1.2 million was allocated to Caddick's victims. This opulent residence featured 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a swimming pool, and an alfresco dining area. Following her disappearance, Anthony Coletti continued living there until May 2022, when liquidators took possession and evicted him. Unsurprisingly, Caddick's dramatic and mysterious tale has attracted the interest of TV producers eager to bring the story of Australia's most notorious scam to the screen.
A 5-year probe into an elaborate multi-million-dollar mortgage fraud scheme involving mansions in one of the city's most prestigious neighborhoods has led to an arrest of 4 men. While such fraud cases are often lengthy, Toronto police say this investigation, dubbed Project Brittle Path, took a crazy amount of time because it hinged on a lawyer who skipped town and only resurfaced recently. In spring of 2013, officers became involved in a sophisticated complex mortgage fraud investigation into several high-end properties, which the level of fraud is valued at $17 million. In March 2013, around the time cops were diving into the fraud case, Toronto lawyer Gulnaz Valkylie, then 33, allegedly fled the country, reportedly leaving a note for her husband that explained she was heading to Europe. The next month, her assets were frozen, and the Law Society of Upper Canada suspended her license, a license she just obtained a few years earlier, according to police. Investigators at the time also issued a warrant for Valkylie's arrest on charges of fraud, perjury, and uses of forged documents. Investigators allege she helped others involved borrow large sums of money for private lenders. Basically, how the fraud went was, investors were allegedly introduced to people who pretended to be the owners of luxury properties. Forged documents were produced to add legitimacy to the transactions and mortgages that were expected to be secured on the homes that were never registered. Fazeli said they borrowed money against properties they did not own, explaining second mortgages were allegedly obtained by producing fake property titles and home insurance policies to convince lenders that they were the real owners. He said in some cases the loans were a few $100,000, while in others involved as such as $1.5 million. This mansion is located on Park Lane Circle, which also happens to be the street where hip-hop superstar Drake is building a 35,000 square foot mansion with an indoor basketball court. The mansion they're leaving behind is even located in Brittle Path. This stately gated mansion is located at 7 High Point Road in the prestigious Brittle Path neighborhood of Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and situated on 2 acres. It boasts 14,000 square foot of spacious living space with 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, 12 to 13 foot ceilings on the main floor, 10 foot ceilings on the second floor, and a great hall with sweeping staircase of 3 sets of French doors leading to the gardens. It also includes formal living and dining rooms, elevators, libraries of double-sided fireplaces, a gourmet kitchen, a breakfast room, a ballroom, tea room, billiards room, family room with French doors leading to the covered terrace, and more. This house is listed at $14 million. The house will now forever sit behind until a new project manager either comes over and finishes the build, or this house will likely remain abandoned until the case is fully completed and then maybe put back on the market. Police have laid fraud charges on the 4 men that were involved and even had fraud charges for the lawyer. Their sentences have not been released, but we can expect them to be pretty lengthy jail times.
Up next, we visit Mafia boss Paul Castellano's mega mansion. Welcome to the iconic White House of Staten Island, a legendary property with a rich history deeply rooted in local lore. Once the domain of mob boss Paul Castellano, this sprawling estate boasts a staggering 8 bedrooms, 17 bathrooms, and a magnificent car showroom, making it a true gem of the borough. Nestled behind private gates on the prestigious Todd Hill, the world-renowned estate captivates with its grandeur and elegance. Situated on 2.5 acres of meticulously manicured grounds, the property offers breathtaking views of the Verrazano Bridge, creating an atmosphere of unparalleled luxury and exclusivity. Step inside and discover an entertainer's paradise, complete with resort-like amenities that redefine lavish living. From the opulent wine cellar to the personal beauty parlor and state-of-the-art home theater room, every corner of this neoclassical mansion exudes sophistication and style. Indulge in relaxation and wellness with a gym, sauna, solarium, and library, or take a dip in the indoor-outdoor Olympic-sized pools for the ultimate escape. The property has undergone extensive renovations since Castellano's tenure, yet its mystique as a former mob house adds an intriguing layer to its history. A highlight of the estate is the 13-car showroom, perfect for showcasing your automotive collection in style. Despite its notorious past, the White House stands as a symbol of luxury and prestige, offering a glimpse into a bygone era of power and influence. Once home to Big Paul Castellano, the former head of the Gambino crime family, this magnificent residence is now seeking a new owner to continue its legacy of grandeur and sophistication. Don't miss the opportunity to own a piece of history in this iconic island landmark. With Castellano out of the way, Gotti then took over the family and earned the nickname Dapper Don before losing a battle with cancer and dying in prison at age 61 in 2002. The Castellano name has, however, continued to appear in the headlines, including in 2013 when Paul's grandson was arrested for illegal waste carting. All right, everyone, I think that's gonna wrap this video up. Like I mentioned in the beginning, follow all my social media, and also 50% of the people who watch me don't subscribe. So just, if you're watching, just click the subscribe button. It's free, it means a lot. And then an alternative option would be to become a member, which costs a couple dollars, but then, you know, I'll be calling you guys, FaceTiming you guys. You get cool badges, you get exclusive videos. I'll be making videos that I can't show, like public channel. So you guys get a ton of cool features and by clicking here and becoming a member. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I love you guys. Thank you for the constant support. Feel free to share this video on anything, and I'll see you in the next video. Later.